12:30. I think we're going to get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to OLLI Shorts. We are part of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. We're with the University of South Dakota. The University of South Dakota is located in Vermillion, South Dakota, which is in the very southeast corner of our state, so a long ways from Mount Rushmore, if anybody wants to know. We are coming to you from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is the biggest city in the state. We just capped out at over 200,000 people who live in the city of Sioux Falls. And with our MSA, it comes to about 345,000. So we're by far the biggest city because our state has less than 1 million people, only about 850,000 people. So during the month of February, we do a thing called OLLI Shorts. Every day at lunchtime, during our lunchtime, I'm not sure what time it is where you are, but during our lunchtime, we invite speakers to come and give 20-minute presentations and talk to us about their what they do all during the month of February, except for February 21st, which is President's Day. We'll be here at the same time. You can use the same link and join us again if you want to, especially if you haven't been here before. We have some really fun ones coming up. We will be speaking with our guest today, Kristen, and we'll have Q&A time at the end. We will do our best to end by 1 o'clock. We've been pretty good at that. And I would like to make sure that we thank the South Dakota Humanities Council and the National Endowment for the Humanities for their sponsorship of this program today. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And Kristen, hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today. How are you?
Oh, we are good. How is the weather in Reno, Nevada?
Well, the weather today is unseasonably warm. The high is going to be like 64 degrees. And that's not the norm for us. We're usually probably, I would say, around in the 40s. I think that the range, I looked it up, and it's like 28 to 47 degrees is like the average this time of year. So it's really warm for us. And it's very sunny today, but that is not rare. Reno sees about 300 days of sunshine a year. So yeah, so we're pretty sunny here, and you know, we're dry. We have had no precipitation in February, and unfortunately also no precipitation in January at all. And that is the first time since they've been tracking weather that we haven't had precipitation in January. So that's very, I know, unfortunate, because we do have, in late summer, we tend to get a lot of wildfires in this area. So yeah, but so typically we get about 7.5 inches of rain annually. But we're considered to be high desert here in Reno, Nevada. We're at 4,500 feet elevation, and we are nestled right up against the Sierra Nevada mountain range.
So beautiful, and pretty close to Lake Tahoe, right?
Yes. So I was going to say that we are about 35 miles or so from Lake Tahoe, so super close.
Nice recreation area. I've been there.
Yes.
Been to Reno a couple times too.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
Very cool. Well, you know, we think about Reno, and we, I don't know if you saw the photo that I used in the advertisement, but it was your Welcome to Reno sign that's downtown. What do you think most people think about Reno that's wrong?
Well, I think there are a few misconceptions, and I think the show Reno 911 has done us no justice at all, if anybody's ever seen that. But, you know, I think the biggest misconception is that people see Reno as like a smaller, maybe lower rent, maybe even dirtier version of Las Vegas. And that is like so far from reality and the truth. I mean, Reno is such a beautiful little community, and well, not so little. We have about 250,000 people in Reno, and then our county, Washoe County, I think that we're up to like almost 470,000 people. So, but we still feel like a small town. And, and I hesitate to even answer this question so much because we kind of like to, I would think we think of ourselves as a best kept secret, like we kind of, people who live here know, it's like a wink thing, like we know how great this town is, but a lot of people on the outside don't realize it. And so, but we, we aren't Las Vegas. We don't try to be Las Vegas, and nor do we want to be. I think that in the past 20 years, we've done a really good job of figuring out who we want to be here in Reno, and we've really diversified the economy quite a bit. And we focused on investing and bringing in businesses, technology businesses, advanced manufacturing, those sorts of things. So we have companies either in Reno or, maybe on the outskirts of Reno, within 15 miles or 20 miles of Reno that, like Tesla is here, Panasonic.
Oh, wow.
We have the licensing division of Microsoft here in Reno. Intuit is here, and they make TurboTax and QuickBooks and things like that. So that's just a few examples, but there's many, many other businesses that bring really great quality, high-paying jobs here. And we're a university town, so and our university here is a very traditional kind of land grant. We're the land grant university, the University of Nevada, Reno. And if you look at our campus, we look a lot different than a lot of the California schools or even UNLV, the more urban schools. We have a very traditional look with the old historic buildings, brick buildings with big trees and a quad and all that great, kind of. So we really tout that too to students in California, that we are kind of that traditional college experience. So a lot of great things come with being a university town. So I think that's, kind of a better picture of who we really are. I think another misconception, people think that Reno is super close in proximity to Las Vegas. And we really are not. We're about a 7-hour drive north of Las Vegas. Yeah. So I wrote down the mile. We are 440 miles from Las Vegas. And so you can put that in perspective. We're only 217 miles from east of San Francisco. So we're much closer to San Francisco than we are to Las Vegas. And like you said, super close to Lake Tahoe, only 2 hours to Sacramento. And our state capital, Carson City, is only 30 miles away.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, at the conference, I'll have to tell you about my trip from San Francisco to Reno one time.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you is about, what is your greatest resource in not necessarily Reno, but Nevada? I know that you have a lot of tourism, of course, but Tesla, you said, and is there other agricultural?
We do, yeah. I mean, outside of Reno, of course, we have a lot of agriculture. We have just south of us, south of Carson City, there's actually a lot of cattle in that area. And then we have garlic and onions just south of that. And so I mean, Reno or Nevada is very diverse. We have a ton of mining in Nevada as well. East of us in Elko, that's a big, Elko, Nevada is a big mining town. So there is a lot of, I think in the urban areas, we have what you would typically see in urban areas in terms of, universities and technology and that going on. But then, outside of the urban areas, we do still have a lot of the traditional industry that you would have seen in Nevada many years ago, mining and agriculture.
We have a question in the chat. Is Reno a brothel area?
Not Reno proper. Very close to Reno. Yes, we do have brothels. So not too far. I think our closest is probably Patrick, which is, I don't know, the people that are on the line, would you say like 10 or 15 miles from here? Something like that. So, so we do still have that industry. That's another industry, although it's not a major industry, of course, and not one that, I mean, I think that is something that does, make it's part of our history. It does make our state
Absolutely.
a little different and unique, but it's not something that, you know, we're putting out in our tourism commissions, not putting out there to the rest of the world, you know.
I'm going to skip around on my questions a little bit because you just kind of led into this one, but who are your Indigenous people in your area, and is their history taught in your schools?
Yeah, so we have the Washoe, the Paiute. We do have a strong Native American population here. Actually, the university is right now hiring a position, and I want to remember, I just got the email yesterday for like the public forum, but they're hiring a director of Indigenous community like liaison, you know, for the university. Yeah, and I used to actually years ago, I taught school here in Nevada, and I taught at Pawalu Middle School. And then I taught at a high school as well. And one of the requirements was you had to do a 20-minute interview in a foreign language in order to get your degree. And I remember I was a foreign language teacher at the time, and many of the students took their exit interview in Washoe. They actually, you know, did a 20-minute exit interview in Washoe. So I think that we definitely have obviously a respect and a great, thick, rich, vibrant history here with our Native peoples.
Really incredible. Good. Yeah. I'm really glad to hear that. So in South Dakota, we have this word that we say, and the people who've been with me all month have heard me ask this question before, but I find it fascinating to everybody we talk to. We have this word that we say, ufta, and ufta is a Norwegian word. It came from Norwegian immigrants, and ufta means everything from ufta, that's heavy, to you go outside, ufta, it's cold. It means something's beautiful, ufta. It means a lot of different things. It's just an expression that we use. Are there any colloquialisms or sayings that you have in your area?
Oh my goodness. Oh man, I don't know. Maybe the people online can help me out a little bit with that one. I'm trying to think. Let's see.
We found,
you know, it's hard. What's that?
Other areas of the country call like shopping carts, buggies, or, you know,
right. Like that. Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's hard for me because I am a transplant. So I used to say buggy, and people would say, what are you saying? Or I would say run the sweeper instead of the vacuum. And, so I think, I'm trying to think of what did I notice when I came, you know, that might be, I don't know. Virginia, do you know of any, or Ralph? Any that are specific to this area?
Pronouncing Nevada.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes. That's huge. We're really protective about the way that you pronounce the name of our state, because a lot of people say Nevada and it's Nevada. And so that's huge. We even have t-shirts that, you know, with the correct pronunciation, like so, and then somebody put in the chat, Coke, pop, or soda. We say soda here. I came here saying pop, we say soda. And sometimes people even do, like, I remember when I first came here, I went to a restaurant and somebody said, I'll have a Coke, and they said, well, what would you like? And they said, a Sprite. And I was like, what?
That's unusual.
Somebody put it, I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, like look at some of the chats coming through. Somebody had talked about, okay, I'll start from the beginning. Reno's not just for divorces anymore. And that is so true. So we used to be the divorce capital. That's what put Reno on the map. If you didn't know that, actually, is people would come here in the early 1900s to get a divorce, and they had to stay here for 6 months and establish residency, and then they could get a quick divorce and a quick marriage to whoever was waiting for them to get that divorce. And a lot of people ended up staying here because it's so beautiful, and they already had their residency. So is Mormonism a large part of your culture? Yes, actually, we have a lot of Mormon people who live in northern Nevada and southern Nevada, all across the state. Where I got married was called the Mormon Station in Genoa, which is a little small town. And it was like a trading post many, many years ago. So yeah, that is, and then the rodeo. Yeah, so we have the Reno Rodeo, which is what is the tagline? For those of you out the richest rodeo in the West or wildest rodeo in the West. But we have a week-long rodeo, and it is fabulous. The whole town, I mean, it's just a huge event, and everybody shows up and has a lot of fun. So,
wow.
Yeah,
Sounds like there's so much to do there.
there
So
is.
if you live in Reno and you've lived there all your life or most of your life and you retire, do you stay or do you go somewhere else?
Well, I think a lot of people stay, and I think a lot of people that retire in other places come here when they retire. There's just so much to do. The weather, you don't have to shovel snow. There are so many days like today where you can ski in the morning and go golfing in the afternoon. That's what we promote, that you can do all those things. Yeah, so I think a lot of people stay, and I think a lot of people enjoy all the outdoor activities in retirement that we talked about. I think I read somewhere that we have 19 golf courses in like a 35-mile radius. I don't know if that's, I haven't counted them myself, but so there is a lot to do recreationally, but also Reno has this emerging, local restaurant scene. We also have a lot of new breweries, craft breweries and distilleries. We have the Pioneer Theater, which is a great place to see Broadway performances and other theater productions, as well as we have a Reno Philharmonic, a jazz orchestra, a chamber orchestra. Lake Tahoe has the Lake Tahoe Shakespeare Festival. There's a lot of little festivals that we have in downtown Reno as well. We have an Italian festival, and we have Hot August Nights where people come from all over and bring their old vintage cars. So there's just a lot to do. And I think too, having the university here helps with the programs that we have to keep retirees active and engaged in learning. And of course, there's OLLI to join as well. So there is a lot to do in retirement here in Reno.
We do have another question in the chat. Is the population of Reno growing?
It definitely is, yes. And I think too, with COVID and people realizing that working from home means that they can work from almost anywhere, we've seen a lot of people moving here from California. And so the population has been growing steadily for many, many years and continues to grow. And so sometimes that growth feels good, and economically it's good, and then sometimes we feel like, wait a minute, we love small town Reno, and do we want to grow into, how do we? So I think that's part of the as we grow, is figuring out how we grow in the way we want to grow, and how do we grow and maintain that small town feel and continue to be a wonderful place to raise children and a safe place. And so, yeah, there are some growing pains in Reno, of course, as with any town, I'm sure, but yeah. So, and then I see another question about housing prices. That's probably one of our biggest issues right now in Reno, is the cost of housing is just going up a lot. And we also, with this growth, have developers coming into our town and buying affordable housing areas and developing them, and then that makes the availability of affordable housing less, and there's less opportunities for that, and so that's a big struggle right now, and a topic of a lot of conversation within our city council and our county commissioners and whatnot.
I think a lot of similar sized cities are dealing with that right now. One of the things that you mentioned, that you really have a great food scene there. Do you have some kind of food that's specific to Nevada or to Reno?
Yeah, so I would say one of our very favorites is Basque food. So we have a large Basque population that
people, right?
What's that?
People from Spain
and France, yeah, and the Basque Country kind of borders both Spain and France, and so I don't know the years exactly, but there was a lot of migration to Nevada and of Basque people, and we have a wonderful, very active Basque community here. We have a Center for Basque Studies at the university, which is extremely well known, and in the Basque country they send scholars over here to attend the university or be faculty at the university and vice versa. We have so Basque food it's family style. It's presented family style, and it's just wonderful. It's delicious, but they eat a lot of like tongue and brains and things like that. But they make it so delicious, and you don't even realize that's what you're eating. But specific to, so you may go, there's a large Basque community in Idaho as well. But in Nevada, we have a drink that is served at Basque restaurants called a pecan punch. And that I don't think that you can find in other Basque communities. I think that is very specific to Nevada. And it packs a punch. I don't even know what's in it. Does anybody know what's in it? Ralph, do you know what's in the pecan punch? I don't know, but it is potent. And yeah, and so that's kind of, Winnemucca coffee is also another Basque after dinner drink. And Winnemucca is a town in Nevada. So, I think those are very specific to Northern Nevada, in fact.
Interesting. These are, wow. I think I need to go back there.
Yes.
Do you have, I have one last question, then we'll open it up for questions. Do you have a local newspaper, or are there TV stations based out of Reno?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have the Reno Gazette-Journal, which is our local newspaper. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, we have, our local, there's 3 main local TV stations and news outlets that. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I would love to open it up to other questions from our members. You all have been very good about putting stuff in the chat, but I think we've covered most of it. Although Stacy just said her bestie is from
Winnemucca. Yay! I love Winnemucca.
Winnemucca. All right.
There's a wonderful Basque restaurant in Winnemucca.
Ooh.
Someone asked in the chat if your weather had been changing much.
Over time, I would say so. I mean, I feel like I have seen the change since I've lived in Northern Nevada for 30 years now, and I feel like I have definitely seen the change in the weather, drier, shorter winters. Yeah, for sure. I was going to say something else to that effect, but totally escaped me at the moment. But yeah, I think that, we're feeling it in shorter ski season. So you have like those years where you say that, and then like you have a year where, it kind of makes you a liar or something. But I think the weather is definitely changing here.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say is that we have this new season. So we have 5 seasons now because we have fire season.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It is the last 3, maybe 4 years now in a row, we have consistently had a fire season, where to the point where you can't even go outside some days because the smoke is so unhealthy and thick. It's really unfortunate. Mm-hmm.
I see Rick has a question.
Tell us about your OLLI. How many members do you have? What range of courses do you have?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So prior to the pandemic, we had about 2,450 members. We are structured a little differently than most OLLIs, however. We have a one-time fee of $55 to join OLLI, and then you can take as many courses as you want. Mm-hmm. Our courses are typically, except for our interest groups, our lectures and whatnot, are typically just a one-off thing. So you don't come for like a 12-week class at our OLLI. We do have some classes that are multi-session of maybe like 3 or 4 of them, but we don't have a whole lot of those. we do have tours and things like that. So if we have like a chartered bus or whatever, we do have additional fees, but you don't pay per class at our OLLI. So it's $55 a year. Now that we're with COVID, we went down to about 1,400 members. Now we're about up to 1,600 this year. We're almost there.
Good job.
Yeah, so that's been wonderful. And then our courses range, my goodness, we have so many different types of programs. We have, this week we had a lecture on World War II. We have this afternoon, like a social media misinformation, program, but we have ukulele, we have watercolors, we have French, Spanish. Those are all interest groups. We have book discussion type interest groups, but then our lectures are just, really anything that we can dream up, which is wonderful, from politics to science to, to health and well-being. We do have a lot of university, and we have 2 community colleges in our area. So we have community college and university faculty who come and teach, and they volunteer their time to do that. So we do not pay our instructors.
Wow.
And they love it. They have such a great audience that they ask wonderful questions. The other thing we have is a very active outdoor activities group, and they have 2 different cycling programs. They have a long distance hiking group. They actually tried and almost completed hiking the Tahoe Rim Trail last summer, but because of the smoke, they had to stop. We have a light hiking group. We have a kayaking group, snowshoeing. So we have a very robust group of OLLI members that do the outdoor activities as well. So we have a lot, and yeah, we are considering raising our dues for next year. Things have gotten more expensive, but on top of that, the university we have never had to pay rent. We're in a building that is leased by the university, and it's off campus and has great parking and all that. But they are considering having us pay a portion of our rent, because I think everybody is feeling, the budget's tightening. And so this will be the first time in 30 years. We were Elder College before we were the OSHR Lifelong Learning Institute. And so we've been affiliated for 30 years at the university. So we are considering raising the dues a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit similar in that we have our fee is $100 a semester. We offer about 150 classes a semester, and it's take as many as you can.
That's great. Yeah. And are your classes more multi-session type classes?
It's a big mixture. I'd say the most popular ones are one of, but we do have some that go 6 to, I think, 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions? Oh my gosh, this has been great.
This has been super fun. I love this idea.
Oh,
we might need to
steal it and invite us.
I was going to say we might need to.
Our OLLI members are so wonderful, and they love to ask questions, as you can tell. We're honored to have you here. Thank you so much for jumping when I put that question out there, for jumping in. We really appreciate it. And
I'm honored to be here.
Good. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, Anne's clapping. Really appreciate your time. And everyone, be sure you join us next week. On Monday, we have Love Poems with Darla Beal. And I kind of have a feeling she might be one of our next poet laureates in South Dakota. She'll be reading some well-known love poems as well as some of her own.